They say the sea remembers every scream, but none louder than the name Blackbeard. History remembers a ghost, a face hidden in smoke, a beard that burned like fire. He didn't rule through blood, he ruled through fear. His beard was his crown, his silence, his sermon. He knew that people don't fear pain, they fear imagination. To some, he was madness made flesh. To others, a genius who discovered that terror doesn't need proof, only witnesses. This is the story of Edward Teach, the man who turned smoke into legend and fear into immortality. Even legends fade into the deep unless someone keeps their name alive. If this story gripped you, like the video and subscribe so the next voyage finds you before the tide turns. Before the name Blackbeard struck fear across the Atlantic, there was only Edward, a sailor from Bristol. Born around 1680, he grew up where the docks smelled of sugar, blood, and salt. By his 20s, he was a privateer, fighting for the English crown in the War of Spanish Succession. To London, he was a patriot. To Spain, a predator. To himself, a man who had finally found purpose in chaos. But when the war ended, so did his purpose. The crown abandoned its mercenaries. The men who once fought for empire were now thieves without flags. Edward was one of them, out of work, out of loyalty, adrift in the Caribbean, the last great graveyard of the old world. And it was there, among broken men and stolen ships, that Edward Teach began to fade, and Blackbeard was born. The war had made him useful. Peace made him disposable. He drifted to the outlaw haven of Nassau, where broken sailors found new gods, rum, gold, and freedom. There, he met Benjamin Hornigold, a privateer turned pirate. Hornigold saw potential. He gave Edward a ship, a crew, and a chance to command chaos instead of obey it. In 1717, Edward Teach hoisted the black flag. Each raid hardened him. Each victory fed the legend that hadn't yet taken a name. And he learned one truth that would outlive them all. Fear works faster than bullets. Off the coast of St. Vincent, he captured a French slave ship, La Concorde. 500 chained souls below deck. He seized the ship, armed it with 40 cannons, and renamed it the Queen Anne's Revenge. It became his stage, every inch of it engineered to perform power. He grew his beard long and black, tied with ribbons like a crown of madness. Before battle, he lit slow-burning fuses in his hair. The smoke twisted around his face as he stepped through the haze, half man, half apparition. To his enemies, he wasn't human, he was a warning. Ships surrendered before a single shot was fired, not because they feared pain, but because they feared their imagination. Blackbeard had found his weapon, reputation. Fear was a currency stronger than gold, and once you control a man's imagination, you no longer need to spill his blood to own him. From the Bahamas to Barbados, the whispers grew. El Gran Diablo, the Great Devil. Edward Teach disappeared. Blackbeard had become something far greater, an atmosphere. By 1718, the Caribbean belonged to Blackbeard. 4 ships, 300 men, and a legend so heavy that even silence seemed to serve him. But empires built on fear always rot from within. His men wanted gold, not ghosts. So he turned his attention north to Charleston, South Carolina, and there he made history. He blockaded the entire city. For 6 days, no ship entered or left the harbor. He took hostages, plundered cargo, aimed his cannons at the coast. But the ransom he demanded was medicine, mercury, syringes, powders, cures for the sickness spreading through his crew. When it was delivered, he released every hostage unharmed. A monster showing mercy, number, a performance of control. Blackbeard had proven that fear could govern, that obedience could be bought with silence instead of blood. But paranoia began to rot the man behind the smoke. His ships ran aground. His men turned restless. Some say he sank his own fleet to divide them before they divided him. On the island of Bath, he accepted a royal pardon, the devil playing citizen. He married, smiled, pretended he could live like other men. But peace was a language he had long forgotten. Within weeks, he was back at sea. The man who taught the world to fear was now haunted by it. November 1718, Ocracoke Island. The ocean is silent, the fog too thick. Lieutenant Robert Maynard sails under royal orders. Bring back Blackbeard, dead or alive. At dawn, 2 Navy sloops appear from the mist. The trap is set. Cannons roar. Smoke swallows the sun. Blackbeard fights like a man who has already seen hell. Pistols in both hands, sword flashing through gunfire. He is shot once, twice, again, and still he moves forward. When he finally falls, his body carries 20 sword cuts and 5 bullets. Maynard orders his head severed and fixed to the ship's bow, proof the devil of the Caribbean is dead. But sailors swear his headless body swam around the ship 5 times before sinking beneath the waves. Edward Teach died that morning. Blackbeard never did. The waves buried his body, but they never buried his idea. For years, sailors swore they saw a lantern glowing in the fog, a ghost still patrolling the sea he once ruled. Because Blackbeard was never just a man. He was a message, a warning carved into time that fear, once created, outlives its creator. His reign lasted less than 2 years. 2 years to shape 3 centuries of legend. The kings who hanged him are dust. The governors who cursed him are forgotten. But Blackbeard remains in our myths, in our nightmares, in the way we still whisper the names of monsters long after they've drowned. Because deep down, we know the truth he discovered. Power isn't strength. Power is perception. And the man who mastered perception never truly dies. So when the wind howls off the Carolina coast and the ocean turns black as ink, remember the man who taught the world to fear and became fear itself.